If you asked me to pick the best chair for someone I'd never met and my life depended on it, I'm going with the Steelcase Leap chair. Over the last 5 years, the Steelcase Leap has been our most consistently recommended chair, and it's also the chair I've spent the most amount of time in that same duration. We were picking the Leap as our #1 chair long before we even started refurbishing them, and I credit the Leap for helping me get rid of almost a decade of chronic back pain. The Leap is a great chair. I'd consider it to be A+, but I can't quite push it up to that S tier with the gaming embody and the fern, and we'll get into that shortly. The best part about the Leap is that there's very little about the chair that would make someone dislike it. For that reason, I always have one in my office, using it when my other chairs are taken for videos, or sometimes for long spurts like I'm doing right now. I've been back in the Leap for weeks, and I'm reminded why I spent so much time in this before getting the fern or embody. The Leap seat is one of the most comfortable seats I've ever used, and I do find it to be more comfortable than my two S-tier picks, the embody and the fern. The biggest advantage it has against almost every chair is its flexibility. The seat pan can move and flex a ton, which I really like with the way that I use my chair. Even though the Leap has a firm seat overall, it does feel a bit softer than a lot of high-end chairs, and that does include the embody and fern for me. The foam layer is not thick, and this is probably the biggest complaint with the Leap chair overall. Some people find the seat to be too thin, which typically affects the tailbone area, but it's actually the contour of the seat that causes this. The Ameap is often seen as a good alternative because it is perceived to have a thicker seat. It doesn't. The foam pads are almost identical. The seat pans themselves are slightly different shapes, with the contour being larger on the Leap, which is why the Ameap feels different and can be better for some people. It's important to understand that this complaint, while probably the most common on the Leap, is still minimal overall. The return rate on these chairs is tiny. Personally, I love the Leap's cushion. I consider it to be S tier. I can use it all day, and I find it to be super supportive. The backrest is also one of my favorite in the industry. The Leap's back is amazing because it works for people that want very little lumbar support or for people that love a ton of lumbar support. This is not only due to the large depth adjustment. The dial is easy to use and it changes the shape of the backrest curve. But the cool thing about this design is that you can remove the lumbar pad, which makes the lumbar less pronounced overall. I also think it makes it feel a little less pokey. But the dial still functions with curving the back, so now you have a new range of adjustment that's just less pronounced than when the lumbar pad is in. I love this mode. If you leave the pad in, then it does have a large height adjustment range, so it's good for short and tall people. Like the seat, my favorite thing about the back is how flexible it is. The thin plastic design with thin layer of foam makes the backrest extremely flexible. This is right there with the most flexible backs on the market. The thin foam layer design is also great because it helps to keep you from being too warm. I never feel hot in the Leap like I do with backs that have thicker foam backrests. The one thing I do hate about this chair that does affect the backrest is the headrest option. Just don't waste your money on the headrest. It's expensive but feels cheap, has little adjustment, and I find it to be uncomfortable. Even though I think the Leap seat and back are among the best in the biz, it may be crazy to say that I think the arms are the strongest feature of the chair. There's really nothing the Leap arms can't do. They have multi-way adjustments, but the most important thing is that the ranges on all of the adjustments are massive. This is what helps to make it a great choice for almost everyone. The arms can go super low and wide to get completely out of the way. They can go really high and narrow to use your phone at nearly eye level. They adjust front to back to get really close to your desk if you like that, and they also swivel to accommodate random sitting or typing positions. And even though the arms are so flexible, they're solid. And to finish it off, you get some of the most comfortable arm pads available. They're large, have a relatively flat design, and they're soft. These are right there with the Aeron Remastered as my favorite set of arms. If the seat, back, and arms are all among my favorite on the market, then what's keeping the Leap from being S tier for me? It's the recline. It's not that the recline is bad, it's just not as versatile as chairs like the Fern and Embody. The Leap features a synchro tilt recline with a really large range. The reason I don't love it is because it's more designed for static positions. It's not smooth and it doesn't feel like you're rocking and gliding, oftentimes feeling sticky and grabby. The recline is more meant to change positions and stay there. It holds its position very well at any angle, which makes it phenomenal for tasking, typing, and working. But it isn't quite as good for relaxing and kicking back because you kind of need to be sitting still. Whereas I like to rock back and forth when I'm doing something like talking on the phone, watching a video, or having a conversation. While this isn't my favorite recline, it's still good, and the rest of the chair's comfort and adjustability more than makes up for this one shortfall for me, which is why it has remained as a top 3 chair for almost 5 years. The thing is also built like a tank with an incredible warranty. So from an investment standpoint, you're getting a lot of bang for your buck. You end up spending a little over $100 a year, and your health and comfort are well worth $100 a year.